You got the goblet and the ring. And so using these, you'll learn object-based scripting. As simple as that. So what we're first going to want to do, both of these have particle effects, doesn't matter. They're also both models, also doesn't matter. But first things first, we're going to add a script. Scripting tutorial, you gotta have a script. So, by the way, I have this place. It's just my little environment for testing and banking things. I made all the terrain. Doubt I'll ever use it ever. Maybe for like demos and things, but I like the terrain. I think it's good to have an environment you like to work in. And if I ever get bored of scripting, I just make more terrain. I also got a little house here. Wish made this, you know. And this. Anyways, back to the scripting tutorial. So, first things first, we have a goblet. How do you guys think that we get the goblet? I'll give y'all a second to answer, even though, you know, can't hear the answer. Pause the video. Alright. How we get the goblet is we're gonna do script.parent. Most of y'all should know this. I taught this yesterday to Unknown and Noel. I've taught this to Bob. Anyone else who's watching the video will also learn this or reference back to it. So, transparency. Alright, we're gonna do this. So, we're gonna do script.parent.transparency equals 1. So, what this line is doing here is very simple. We're taking our object here, script.parent. This refers to the parent of the script, which is this goblet. It'll set the transparency to 1. 1 is the transparent version of transparency. We can see the properties of the object here on the side in properties. You can open it with view, properties right there. I'm not gonna click it because it'll mess up everything for me, but you know, we got script.parent or .transparency equals 1. So right now it's equal to 0. Let's say without running the script, let's just do this. Let's set the transparency to 1. What happens? It disappears. Whoa, so cool. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna run. We don't have to play the game, but when we run it, whoa, it disappears. I didn't even touch anything that time. That's because the script did it. Whoa. So first script made, script.parent.transparency equals 1. Well, how can we make this better, right? Like, I don't know, the transparency worked, but the shine didn't turn off. If I was actually there, I'd still be able to collide with it because it has, can't collide is off. But it would still be there though, right? Because, you know, the shine is there. So how can we make it better? Also, why would it just go transparent immediately? I don't want it to go transparent immediately. What can we do? So let's think about our options here. We're just gonna do a click detector because I used proximity prompts yesterday with y'all. So we got our click detector here. We got our goblet. We got our transparency equals 1. This all, like, I don't know. This right here, it doesn't really do much for us. We're gonna delete it. So first things first, we gotta define what our goblet is. Again, pause the video. You should know how to do this. If I taught you to, or if I taught it to you. If I didn't, you wouldn't know how to do this. That's fine. But hopefully y'all were right. We go local. This defines a local variable. You can define global variables, which will be accessed in all scripts. You don't want to do that right now. Let's keep it local. So local, and then we're gonna have our variable name here. So what do we want to name it? I talked about this briefly yesterday. Name things that make sense. If you don't, things will get a mess really quickly. You can learn that the hard way if you don't believe me. So local, we're gonna call it goblet. So we have our name, we have our variable. This is a variable complete. But what is the variable? If we're reading this from a computer's perspective, this doesn't mean anything. This, like, what is this? You know, I know there's a goblet, but I don't know, like I don't know what it is. It's just, it's a name to me, you know? So we gotta set it equal to something. Now you'll see an error that we didn't set it equal to anything yet. But what do we want it to be equal to? Well, we want it to be equal to the object, which would be the model, right? This little thing that I'm touching right now, this is the whole object. So local goblet equals. What did we do before? Script parent. There we go. Script.parent. There you go. So now this will access our goblet. You can even do a little print. I'm gonna do print goblet here. You know what? Just for fun, we'll run it. What happens in our output goblet? If we click on it, it shows us the object because that's what it is. Roblox is really cool where you can print these variables out even if they're an object, and you can, like, you know, click on it to see what object it is. This is really neat. Yeah. Anyways, so we got our goblet. But now we also want to access the click detector, because how else are we going to do this? We need to know, like, how to click it, right? Which is where our click detector comes in. So now we're going to do a local, we're going to call it click detector. You can name it however you want. I name it like this. This is called camel case, where you go like, this is a word. I don't remember why it's a thing. It just is a thing. Anyways. So now, how do we access click detector? You guys should know this. I'll wait a second. We go goblet. What's the child of goblet? Click detector. How do we access a child? We go goblet.click detector. There we go. So now we have our goblet, we have our click detector. What do we do for it to be clicked? Raise your hand or something, I don't know. Engage with the classroom. So, for our click detector, we are gonna look an object browser. This is a little tool that I like to use because I hate using AI. You could ask AI, but you go here, you go object browser. We're gonna scroll down. It's alphabetical. There's no search feature, but look, click detector right there. This is all of the things we could do with a click detector. We could check the parent of it. We could determine the parent of it. We could check the name. We could set the name. We could set the class name. Oh wait, no, we couldn't. This is read only, which means it can only be looked at. We cannot change it ourselves. So let's look at the things here. These are all the events here. All of these. I don't know if I can select them all. No, I can't. But anything with a little lightning icon is an event. An event is fired when something happens. So, for example, ancestry changed. Let's read what it does. Fires when the instance .parent property of the object or one of its ancestors is changed. So, what does this mean? If I move the click detector over here, its ancestor changed. Its parent just changed to silver ring, right? I'm gonna put it back over here. But that'll fire the event and we can connect something to the event. But let's look at all the events here. Which event do we want to use? I'll give you a second. That's right. We want to use mouse click. So let's read the description of mouse click. Fires when a player interacts with the parent of click detector or drag detector. In this case, click detector, because we don't have a drag detector. So how do we use the event now? Anyone got any ideas? Well, since we're in a object-based, is that what I was calling it? Probably. Since we're in an object-based scripting program, Lua, we just add a dot and then that for our operators. So if we add a dot in our operators, or dot for our operators, what do we do to get this? Well, we have the name of it, or yeah, we have the name of it here, mouse click. It's an event. So what do we want to do with it? Well, we want to fire it. So we're going to do click detector dot mouse click. Boom. Simple as that. So now this doesn't do anything. It'll know when we clicked it, but it doesn't know what to do once we do. So what we're going to do, we're going to connect a function. Going to add our parentheses here. We're going to set this to player. Indent there. It should look a little something like this. That was a lot. What just happened? Well, we added a function, or actually, first things first, we connected to the mouse click, right? So every time this mouse is clicked, or your mouse is clicked on this object, it'll use this connect. we could also do once. So now only the first time you click this, it'll play once, and that's it. It'll never play again. We could also do wait. So now it'll wait for the event to happen, which is mouse click. It'll wait for the event to happen, and then it'll play everything after, which, like, let's just say goblet, parent, I don't know. Just whatever goes right here, right? So we have all our different things that we can do here. There's like a couple others, connect parallel. We're not gonna worry about that just yet. For now, we're gonna connect because we want it to happen more than once. And it just messed everything up. That's fine. All right. So we have our connect here. We have our event here. Connect to the event. Now, what does this mean? Function. Well, functions are basically little lines of code that will replay, I guess. I've talked about them before. They're basically just like little definitions you can set throughout your code to repeat entire blocks. It's like if you could set a paragraph as one word. It's an insane tool, right? Because imagine if you were reading a book and you knew what like a word meant through, or like you knew what a word was talking about. Like it talked about an entire paragraph just through one word. You know how crazy that would be? You would be able to read a book so fast. And that's the same with a computer. You can script things and type things out so fast using these functions. If you're not using functions, you're doing something wrong. But let's define a function. So for right now, we're gonna do local function, or we're just gonna call it test func. We have our little function. So look, anything we type in here will not happen. Oh my god, go away. Anything we type in here will not happen until we call the function. So I do a really bad job at explaining this a lot of the time, but for right now, we're just gonna do print, sure, hello. So right now, let's run it and let's see what happens. What do you think will happen? Wrong, probably. It didn't print anything because guess what? We didn't call the function. We just defined it. Which is like, you know, you gotta call the function for it to do something. So now we're gonna call test func. What do you think will happen now? Probably what you guessed the first time. So if we run the game, it'll now print hello. It'll show us where we printed it if we click on the little thing right there. It printed right there. Boom. Just like that. Print hello. Lame function though. Let's make it better. What if we wanted it to print anything we put into it? So we're gonna call this a value. We'll make it a little complicated. We'll put string here. So what did I just do? Whoa, changed a lot. So now I added an input to the function, right? The input is defined as value. So now if we want to use value in here, we can have value. It's errored out because it doesn't make sense. Like, you know, value isn't anything yet. But for our case, we're gonna print the value just like that. So the other part of this is this part. So what this does here is it defines this value. This value has to be a string. If it's not a string, it won't work. And that's purely because we defined it as a string. And just for those of you who don't know, a string is anything in quotations. It's usually words. You could have numbers in here. That's my social security number. You could have a ton of different things in here. And it's anything between quotations. So just anything here, right? So now that we have our input, how do we use the input, right? Well, we called the function like this. Where do you think the input goes? Whoa, it's giving us a hint, value string. So that's right. We put our thing in here. So now we're gonna print, this is a test. So important thing I want you to note here. We did not have this string is not in here. It's just in the function, right? It goes, so this text here, the string, it goes here. Then the function runs. It's like, well, if I'm running this, what is value? Well, value, we gave it this. So this is our value right now. And then boom, it prints the value, right? So when we run it, what do you think will happen? Let's hope it doesn't error out. Boom, this is a test, just like that. So now we're gonna do this. We're gonna just to prove a point here, we're gonna do a different test. So now we have two functions. What do we think will happen? That's right. It'll print both of them, one after the other. This is a test, this is a different test. And that's because we gave it two different values. So it uses the values from here, puts it into here, runs it here. Just like that. All right. We're going to delete this. I went off on a tangent on functions. That's fine. But now, how do we use these functions to our advantage here? What do we want the function to do? Well, I don't know. For right now, let's make it do what we did at the very start. Let's make it go transparent. Let's make it disappear. So, after we click, we're going to want to do goblet.transparency. Oh, sorry, okay. Transparency equals 1. So, after it's clicked, let's read this out. We have our goblet script.parent. That's this. We have our click detector. Goblet.click detector. That's this. Click detector.mouse click. That is our event. That's this. Connect. We're connecting to something. So every time it is clicked, this will happen. Connect function, right? In the function, don't worry about this just yet. But in the function, what do we do with the function? Well, we set the transparency to 1. All right, what do we think will happen when we play? Well, our goblet's there. We click it. Boom, now it's gone. Perfect. Absolutely amazing. Good job, class. Well, I don't know. I don't like the particles being there after I click it. I'm not gonna lie. They throw me off. So, how can we get rid of the particles? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna look through these properties very slowly. We're gonna see, well, what property changes the particles so that they'll turn off. To be honest, I don't really work with particles ever, so I don't know. But I'm looking at it. It looks like it'll be enabled. So what I'm going to do to test it, I'm going to turn off. Oh, the particles disappeared. Perfect. That's the property we want to target here. So now let's define our particles. You should know how to do this by now. How do we define our particles? Probably right. I'm not checking answers right now. So we're going to do local shine equals goblet.shine. Perfect. Now we have our particles defined. How do we turn them off? Well, we use the enabled property. Just like this is a property, we can also set enabled to something. That'll be a boolean. We'll get there. So goblet, whoops, we don't need goblet. We need shine dot enabled. And do we want to set to true or false? Probably false, right? Because if we're turning something off, it'll be set to false. So play here. Let's see what happens. We click on it. Whoa, everything disappeared. It's gone now. Well, it's not entirely gone, but it's, you know, mostly gone. So, perfect. We did it. But now, I don't know, we need other things to happen. We need the goblet to go into our inventory. We need the goblet to come back eventually, right? These are all things we want to happen. So, we're going to do a couple of things here. First things first, when we're looking at a problem like this, we need to determine what is the most immediate thing that we should do next. Well, honestly, I think the goblet should respawn. That'll be the simplest for this little tutorial. It makes the most sense to go there afterwards, right? So, how did we make it despawn? Right? We look at this. It didn't technically despawn. It's still there. It's just invisible. But we look at this. We change the transparency to 1, and we set the shine to false. Well, then how can we make it come back? Well, we're gonna wait some amount of time, and then we want it to come back, right? Probably, right? So, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna set a wait. We're gonna do this with task.wait because this one is more efficient. You could also just do this. That's fine. This one is just more accurate. I don't really know why, honestly, but that's fine. So we're gonna wait, let's say 3 seconds, and then we want the goblet to come back. So goblet.transparency equals 0. Shine.enabled equals true, because we want it to be shiny again, right? So now when we play it, what'll happen? Let's see. So we have our goblet here. We click on the goblet. It disappears. We wait 3 seconds. It comes back. Whoa, so cool. We can click it again. It disappears again, right? Really neat. Great stuff here. Good job, class. So, anyways, we have the goblet disappearing, right? But I don't like this amount of time, honestly. This is a weird amount of time. Imagine if you were playing some other game and it had a set spawn rate for little goblets like that. That doesn't make any sense, right? Someone could just wait for their like thing to come back up, and boom, now you just have an infinite goblet farm, right? So we're gonna set this to a random amount of time. Well, how do we do that? Let's start here. We're gonna make a new variable, and we're gonna call it local random time. Right? So far it's not equal to anything, but we're gonna do this. We're gonna do random time. It's erroring because we didn't define it at all. But now we're gonna define it. We're gonna define it as math.random. So we have this value here. What does this mean? Well, this is our math operator. There's so many things you can do with this. You can do random radius. Is that radius? Yeah, radius math.huge. That gives the biggest number you can possibly have. Because numbers, as infinite as they aren't infinite in scripting. That would take up too much memory. ABS, absolute value of x, cosine, degrees, exponential. We have all these different math operators. It's basically like a little built-in calculator into Lua. It's great. But for this case, we need a random number, right? And how we do that, well, let's look. We have random number m and random number n. Well, if we read what this says, it says returns a random number within the range provided. So we need to provide it a range with 2 numbers, right? So let's think what 2 numbers would make sense. Well, our first number is going to be 1, because we don't want it to wait 0 seconds to come back. That's crazy. You could just get 2 trinkets. It's insane. But we're going to set our first number to 1, so it'll wait at least 1 second. And for the sake of this tutorial not being too long, we'll set it the second number to 6, right? So now it'll come up with any number between 1 and 6. It doesn't do decimals, I don't think. I'm sure you can make it do decimals, but I'm pretty sure this does normal numbers. Another thing we're going to do, we're going to print out our random time value, because we want to know how long we're waiting. Just as like, a programmer, we want to know that. So now, when we play, we click on the goblet, it'll wait 1 second. Boom, came back. We click on it again, it'll wait 4 seconds now. Boom, there it is. Now it'll wait 5 seconds. Boom, there it is. Now it'll wait another 5 seconds. So what we can see here is it's getting random values between 1 and 6. Now it'll wait 2 seconds. You could obviously set this between 1 and a million seconds, but that's just impractical for what we're doing right now. But I have a really good thing that we need to learn here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna change this. We're just gonna move this variable outside, because why does it need to be inside, right? It shouldn't matter. It'll come up with a new random value every time, right? So now when we run it, what do you think will happen? Well, let's see. We're gonna play. We're going to click on it. 5 seconds. Man, I got really unlucky. 5 seconds. Boom. 5 seconds again. Oh man, super unlucky again. That's too bad. Well, let's click it at 5 seconds 3 times in a row. So something seems off here, right? We keep getting 5 seconds and it will not stop giving us 5 seconds. Why is that? Well, let's look. So if we were reading this as a computer, here's what would happen. We go through, we have our object here, right? We learn that this is our object that we're talking to. we also have another object here. Oops, that's too bad. So we have another object here, and we have our last object here. In our script, we will call all of these later, but we don't have to know that as a computer because we go through 1 through 17. We read it in order. That is important to know, that computers read things in order. Well, now we have our random time. It's asking for a math.random value 1 through 6. Well, I'm going to give it a random number value. Let's give it 3. So now, these variables are all read through. They've been through once, right? Well, now we set the transparency, so we're doing something here. We'll just say action. We're doing something here, so we'll say action. Well, now we're waiting our random time. Well, what is our random time? As a computer, I'm thinking, well, it's 3. I gave it a random value. So now it's 3. 3 second wait. Well, this is printing, but you get the idea. So it's printing, or it's waiting 3 seconds because we defined it up here as 3 seconds, right? We defined it once. When it calls it, it'll always be 3 seconds. And that is because this math.random value only plays once. It runs through, all of this will run through once. This will run through every time this is clicked because of our connection, right? And so it'll always wait 3 seconds because it was defined up here and not in here. Well, when we move this into here, right? Well, now every time this button is clicked, it's going through this and it's reading, well, I need to come up with a random number. I need to set the transparency to 1. I need to do this, all of this, right? And it's coming up with this random number on the spot this time. And that way, it will come up with a new random number, right? Sometimes you might get repeats, don't get me wrong. But like, you know, let's say, oh, we clicked on the object, 5. Well, now this will be a 5 second wait, right? Well, we clicked on it again, 1. Now it'll be a 1 second wait. Well, we clicked on it again, 2. Now it'll be a 2 second wait, just like that. So with this, we can see that, you know, variables need to be in specific spots to do specific things, right? Yeah. Basically, now we have discovered our variables. We've discovered how to change properties, which is all of this. We have discovered functions, which is this. We have discovered events, which would be this. We have discovered connections, which would be this. And I have a challenge for you. Maybe I don't. Let me think. I want you to, when you click on something, so using your click detector, when you click on something, I want you to move it. Hold on. Well, let's think here. Yeah, we'll do that. So when you click on something, I want it to move. Well, I'll help you a little bit. Don't look at this first, but you know, try your own solution first. If you need help, come back to the video. Let's look at properties. Let's see, which property do we think should be used to move something? Well, probably position, right? Let's say when I click on the object, I want the position to change from here to here, right? So we would take this, we would copy, and we would paste it in whatever. This value here, it's not a normal number value. You might think it is, but position actually uses something called vector 3. So when we click on something's position, let's say goblet's position, goblet.position. And just like I taught you earlier, it was a little bit of a trick question, giving this out for homework, but when you look at this, it says vector 3 describes the position of the part in the world. Open documentation. Well, I clicked it, but you know, I'm only showing you my studio, hopefully. But you know, you'll see that it shows a vector 3. So how do we use it? Well, vector3.new. Boom, factor 3. Now we put our numbers in there. Numbers. I'm hiccuping a lot, damn. There you go. That'll help you with your homework. You should do the rest of this similar. But you know, hit me up on Discord if you need something. I'm still here. We'll see if I ever actually edit this or publish it. Hopefully I do, because I've spent a long time recording this, but that, you know, I don't know if y'all even want a long tutorial. I don't even know if y'all want a tutorial, but you know, it'll be on YouTube. So bye bye. Good job today, class. I'll work on something soon, eventually.